Dave Roberts. And strike three. Dodgers have won it all in 2020.
This is Nothing But That Sports Talk. Yes, and welcome to Nothing But That Sports Talk. I'm Rafique Louison, back again, Erika Fernandez, and yeah, we're literally in the city of Los Angeles, at least from a championship perspective, as not only the Lakers, but the Dodgers pulled off a championship win over the Tampa Bay Rays, and what do you know? LA beat Florida in the championship series twice. But since I've already talked about the Lakers and Heat series so many times, what are your impressions about the Dodgers pulling off this series win?
I was really impressed, I have to admit. But that lineup is just too good. I watched them day and night, and I've been watching them for the past few years. You know, I'm a Mets fan, so I keep my eyes on what's going on with the Dodgers. And Dave Roberts is just, he made a couple mistakes in the World Series, not going to deny, but he's still a brilliant manager. He knows what he's doing. But them getting Mookie Betts, I'm sure that the Red Sox are still angry at their idiot decision making. But I'm really happy for him. I'm happy for the rest of the team, as well as Clayton Kershaw. Like, he needed this ring because people didn't respect the fact that he had multiple Cy Youngs. And I think that this further validated his talent. He's an all-star pitcher, and it was a really good World Series. I was really impressed as well with Tampa Bay. Low-key, I was hoping for them to win since they've never won a World Series, so I'm an underdog person. But at the same time, the Dodgers, kind of, you could say the same thing, because it was 32 years since they won a World Series. But I have to say I was really excited and low-key happy at the fact that the fans were booing Robert Manfred, the commissioner. And I know that he was a little uneasy, and reporters that were there were saying that the echoing is the reason why he was kind of at the end, like his speech was a little bit impeded. But it was really great to hear. It was music to my ears, only because the Astros have not been giving them punishment. But yeah, but what did you think about the World Series?
I think the World Series is just incredible. The way they've been like going back and forth between home runs, not to mention that crazy walk-off win for the Tampa Bay Rays in Game 4. That was just nuts, but we'll get to that in a minute. But let's get your impressions about what you feel about the bats of the Dodgers. Like, who do you think stood out the most on the offensive end for the Dodgers?
I wasn't weirded out by, who was it that won the MVP? Was it Corey Seager?
Corey Seager.
Yes. I'm not upset at it because he did do a little bit more than Mookie Betts, but my heart was saying Mookie Betts just because of his athleticism. Like, he was making those, his base running is amazing. Like, this guy is just nonstop, and I just hope that this is what we continue to see from him throughout his entire career with the Dodgers. That lineup is amazing. Even I believe Kike Hernandez is their DH, if my memory serves me right. And he as well, like, he was the most unlikely of people to be producing for them. And I was really impressed, I have to definitely say, as well as Cody Bellinger out in the outfield, and he was also performing at the plate. They definitely have a really good squad that they're not gonna, if they break up this team, they're gonna screw themselves over, because it's gonna be another 30 years till they see a championship.
Yeah, I don't know about that. As long as the Dodgers continue to stay together, they're going to be in the World Series again. I mean, it's their third World Series appearance in the last 4 years. I mean, minus that down against the Washington Nationals. But we look back at the entire decade of postseason struggles up until this point. Like, what went through your mind, and which World Series you thought they should have won the most out of the ones they did lose?
That's a really good question. I would say if they had lost this one, then they would just continue to be the clowns of the sport, because yet again, they make it to the stage. So I think that this one, I guess, fourth time's a charm for them. But had they not won this one, I think that we would have been super critical of everything. I think that Dave Roberts probably would have been fired today or tomorrow. But I think that they have a good group of guys who were just eager to win, and they definitely wanted the respect that they deserve, and they earned it.
Yeah, not to mention that this team is very good in pitching on 2-1 counts and 3-2 counts,
Yes.
and any high pressure counts that you could think of, especially when going up against the high quality pitching of the Tampa Bay Rays. Like, what are your
Yeah.
impressions about the Rays pitching side
Well,
compared to the Dodgers pitching side?
of course. So wait, you said Dodgers pitching?
Yeah, compare both. What do you think is more impressive for the pitching end of both of these teams, the Rays or the Dodgers?
I was definitely on the side of Tampa Bay pitching. I'm still annoyed that Blake Snell got taken out. Kevin Cash, I'm sure, is still getting nightmares from it, and it's only been a couple days now. But I think that they didn't have enough bat. Their lineup wasn't obviously producing, and the score says it for themselves, as well as the amount of hits that they got collectively. Randy Arozarena, his bat was kind of on the quiet side, and then towards the end of the series is where he started to finally get that energy and get his groove back. But Tampa Bay pitching, I wouldn't doubt it if they're back in the World Series next year. They've been producing nonstop the past couple seasons. They've been really beating up the Yankees, which I'm a fan of because I'm sick and tired of Yankee fans always harassing me. So it was really great to see them beat the Yankees, I have to admit. But
Yeah.
I think I would have loved to have seen the Astros and Yankees going at it, just because there was so much animosity there. But that's just a fan of me.
Yeah, but you know what? You've seen the Astros and Yankees duke it out 3 times in the past 6 postseasons, and we already know what happened from there. But
Exactly.
into the
Trash
Tampa Bay Rays, even though they weren't able to get the job done this time, they did pick up a crazy walk-off win in Game 4. Not to mention the fact that they're a lot better in games in which they score first. Only
I
lost
agree.
10 games in which they score first, including the series clinching Game 6 the Dodgers pulled off. What are your impressions about the Rays postseason run up until now?
I'm really impressed with them, and the ball club has done a really good job at kind of turning things around. I know that everyone was on Kevin Cash's back, but he's a really good manager as well. I know that I had to, step back a little bit as opposed to just full-blown attack. But they're doing really well. I think that they just need a couple more pieces. They need a couple of very powerful bats in that lineup to mix it up a bit. I think that they don't have an accurate closer in that aspect. I'm sorry, the cleanup spot. But I think that Game 4, circling back to your earlier question, your earlier point, Game 4's ending, I almost fell off my couch. It was something that was not expected to happen, and it was just the baseball gods, I don't know, finagling something that none of us expected to have seen. Because personally, I think the catch wasn't on Will Smith. I think it was on their right field, and I forget the guy's name. I think it was on their right fielder. I think that was a bad throw, and I think that Will Smith, there's no way that he was able to catch it. And then I think that it was also even better baseball vision on Randy Arozarena, because he was able to catch and see that the ball flew by. So meanwhile, he's 10, 15 feet away from home base. He was able to slide in and obviously continuously slam on that he's safe. But that walk-off one was just beautiful.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that the catcher for the Dodgers, and he literally thought that he had it, but all of a sudden when he saw the ball pass by him, it's like, oh wow, that was just one of the craziest World Series. I mean, for Tampa Bay Rays, we got to admit, they performed a lot better than the team that lost in the 2008 World Series.
Yes, they sure did. I agree with that.
They managed to get 2 more wins than they could against a Philadelphia Phillies team back in 2008, led by Ryan Howard, Jimmy Rollins. That Philadelphia Phillies roster was just completely stacked.
They were. They kept beating up the Mets that season. I remember that too well.
Don't worry, it's all over. Well, the Phillies are the least of your problems, considering you couldn't make the postseason this time.
No, not even. The problems are more ownership, but hopefully Steve Cohen, I think that he has a better vision as a new owner. He's actually a fan. He cares about the sport. So I think that that's what the Mets needed. Someone who actually cares about baseball.
Yeah, but getting back to the Tampa Bay Rays, part of the reason why they managed to win the games they win, because they always score first most of the time.
Yep.
They come from out in the series when, they almost became the second team to blow a 3-0 series against the Houston Astros, but they finished them off. And they managed to hold their own against the Dodgers for a team that's never been to the World Series before, led by a couple of players that's never been to the World Series before, going up against a team that has struggled. They're like basically the LeBron James. You have to struggle to win one championship.
They'll they'll get there. I definitely have no doubt in my mind. And then they're getting a new stadium. I believe it's 2022, 2023 is one of the years. And I think that's even more of incentive for them to actually want to produce a win. And, you know, you never know with COVID limitations, it might just be lifted up and then people will be able to make it back to the stadium in the spring. But we'll have to see and wait. But I definitely expect the Rays to get back in there.
Yeah, but let's talk about Mookie Betts' involvement with the World Series compared to the last time when he came in defeating the Dodgers as a Boston Red Sox. Like,
Yep.
what are your impressions about the impact this guy had in the World Series from the defensive outfield and the hitting standpoint?
He's literally my guy. And if I wasn't such a Mets fan, I would say I need a Dodgers t-shirt with Mookie Betts on it. But it'll go against everything I believe in unless it says Brooklyn Dodgers on the front. But I'm such a fan of his, and he's such a personable guy, and he doesn't care about, he puts people in their place, and I love it. Like, I forgot who they were playing. Oh, it was the Padres, and I think it might have been Cody Bellinger who stole a walk-off home run. That could have been, but he said it best in the post game. So he's like, well, so you guys can celebrate home runs, but we can't celebrate stealing home runs. Because no, you gotta have it both ways. So he's definitely a baseball player's player, in my opinion. He knows his baseball IQ is just amazing, and I really can't wait to see more of him. And I'm happy that he's in a team that actually values him. Again, the Red Sox just messed this up big time.
Yeah, at least he was able to get a ring with the Red Sox. So what are they complaining about? And
Yeah.
Let's look back at how the Rays performed in that series clinching Game 6. I mean, they had a 1-0 lead, but then when it came down to like the bottom of the 6th inning, they gave up 2 wild pitches, allowing runs to score without even giving up a single hit, minus the home run by Mookie Betts. Like, what went through your mind when you saw that?
Was this Game 6 we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, I personally think that they should have left Blake Snell in. I think that they should have at least let him finish the core of the lineup, because those are some strong bats, and Mookie Betts had struck out, I think, 2 times before that. So this is definitely a bad decision making by Kevin Cash. And I keep reading these tweets and these thoughts, and everyone is saying, like, you know, this is too much baseball analytics. I think he should have trusted his catcher. He should have trusted his pitcher to get him out of this mess. And he could have done it. He only had 1 hit. He had no hits at that time. No, he had 1 hit that was just him. And I think that he was, at 70-something pitches? They should have left them in. It was a big mistake to take him out. I think that if they had left Blake Snell in, the game might have ended at 1-0. I don't think the Dodgers would have scored. Personally, that's just me.
Yeah, but you got to keep in mind, it's a good thing that it ended, because if it went to a Game 7, it might have been postponed for at least a couple days, because after the game, a forward man got hit with the coronavirus.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have my suspicions on that. I think that they already knew, and because they still took a chance on it, and their so-called investigation, he was still out there celebrating with the team. Not that to say that that's a bad thing in my eyes, because I would never want to miss that. But at the same time, at least, like, you know, enforce it, like, yo, you have coronavirus, just so that, you know, you have to have the mask on. And then he was in the team photo without the mask, and rightfully so. I understand that you would never want that memory, but how did he get it? Who else has it? And what investigation are they going to do? Are we going to find out about this? Are they going to even share it with the public? Because that's huge. Like, they just won the World Series, and then 5 minutes later, Justin Turner, COVID positive.
Let's not forget the amount of lives we lost during the coronavirus throughout the entire 2020. And you know what? Let's say if the Rays didn't blow that game, we would have been have to wait at least a couple days to a week max in order to play that Game 7 off, thanks to Justin Turner getting the coronavirus. And you see how many games that got postponed and had to be squeezed into a 7-inning doubleheader for a lot of teams throughout the season because of the virus. Like, what would you all that?
To me, it felt forced. It's funny because I was very pessimistic with NBA. And meanwhile, the NBA has been really successful, as well as NHL. We have to make sure to shout out hockey. Their bubbles were successful, whereas MLB and NFL, they've been... You're wondering who's making the decisions, because if it's not the commissioners, who is actually in charge? Because I understand that there's a lot of personnel that is running risks, but I don't think that it's to the point where I think there was a couple Chargers players that got coronavirus and then another Giants player and everything else. So I don't think that they're really having control on this as much as they said that they did.
Yeah, but let's continue talking about the Tampa Bay Rays for a minute. And we got to give credit to this guy, Randy, because he's been killing it throughout the entire postseason.
He sure has.
Like, what are your impressions about this kid?
Well, we could definitely say good because he's 25 years old. His baseball IQ, he's brilliant, his vision. I'm really impressed with how he's just so great. You can't even say anything bad about him. And all the records he broke and the records he now holds, I think that there's no way I would see Tampa Bay getting rid of him, or I think that they should give him a nice little decent contract to keep him happy. And you know what? He earned it with this World Series performance. Yeah,
that is crazy. Randy, this guy is hit big home runs after big home runs in every single series.
What a beautiful swing, too. Yep.
Including the one against the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
One that tied the game in Game 5. You hit like countless clutch home runs to hold off a possible compromise series win from against the Houston Astros. And now you've seen how well he performed. Like, he probably would have been, like, if the Rays were to win the World Series, who would you have given the World Series MVP to the series?
That is a really good question. He was the ALCS. I wouldn't doubt he wouldn't be the MVP.
Nice.
At least I think so.
Yeah. But changing gears to the Dodgers, which player would you get rid of after this World Series win? Or would you keep the entire roster and try to win what you have?
I don't think I would make any roster moves for now. I think that I don't want to say Kenley Johnson, but we have to. I think that he kind of lost his It's funny because he gained his confidence and then he lost his confidence, and he was very dismissive in the post game. But obviously, I'm not a ball player. I can only imagine the pressure that they feel. Like, people think that it's easy to be out there. No, it's not. None of this is easy. Either talking to a camera or writing, whatever you do for a living, it's not easy. But I think that he has to do major adjustments because people no longer trust him. And it's the same thing with Aroldis Chapman, that people are like, all right, why is he still the Yankees closer? So is he still going to be the Dodgers closer? He didn't even close a game. He didn't even pitch.
Without question. But after this World Series win, do you see players like Clayton Kershaw, Cody Bellinger, and Justin Turner being in the Hall of Fame in later years?
Oh, absolutely. Clayton Kershaw is a shoo-in because of his Cy Youngs. Now the World Series win. Even before, without his World Series win, he was definitely going to be in there. Mookie Betts, absolutely. I definitely see them in. I'm trying to think who else. I can't think of anybody else just right now, but they're becoming household names, and I love that.
Yeah.
It's more of what the sport needs, especially baseball. The median age for a fan right now is, I believe, a 57-year-old white man, and that doesn't even count us both in there. So I love the fact that we're seeing more players that are Black, more Latino players that are also of color, getting more recognition out there, that people are realizing that, oh, Randy Arozarena, he's Cuban. Oh, wow, he's Afro-Latino, and he really sticks to his roots. That's beautiful, because we need to see that. So more diversity, by all means. Like, Mookie Betts needs to be a household name ASAP.
Yeah. But when you look back at this World Series, like, what is the least favorite game that you watched?
Wow. I think it was Game 1 because the Dodgers won. But I'm a hater, so I have no problem not denying that.
At least your Mets were able to defeat the Dodgers in the last two postseasons that you guys were in the postseason. So
this is true. You got lucky with that.
I know you would have been more happy if the Dodgers lost, but
yeah, I definitely would have. But at the end of the day, I have to give credits where it's owed, and that's something that you can't take back. Like, they earned it, and I don't want to hear this is an asterisk season. No, it's hard to be out there and then be without your family and then have them over towards the end of the season. They earned it.
Yeah, but I mean, we probably already agreed that Game 4 win with the Rays over the Dodgers was basically the highlight of the entire series. Even
I agree.
If we lost. That's going to be one of the most memorable World Series that you will ever see. Forget the fact that you couldn't pull off the series win, but it's going to be something that you'll never forget.
Yeah. I remember I saw a reporter, and I don't even remember his name, but he said boy, do I feel bad whoever is covering this Tampa Bay's Dodgers World Series. And I said, first of all, you should always be blessed and happy that you're able to still cover, because there's not a lot of jobs in sports. Like, just in case for anyone who's out there listening, the sports industry is really struggling right now. So secondly, it also dismisses both teams. Like, no, they're both exciting. I don't care about the ratings. I think that people were definitely tuned in based on the trending topics on both Twitter and Instagram. So people were definitely talking about this game. So when that reporter said that, I was definitely a little bit, it was definitely a snarky comment. I think it's so easy for people to make those comments, and it always makes me wonder, like, you realize how privileged you are that you're in a space that many of us want to be in. Like, no, you shouldn't say that's going to be a whack World Series. It wasn't.
Yeah, but regardless of whether you're the one covering it, negative or positive, you're being part of history. Like,
exactly, that's what I'm saying. You're part of history.
Like, I've had the privilege of interviewing players from both the Aces and the Storm, pregame, postgame, and shoot-arounds and practices throughout the NBA Finals, WNBA Finals, correction. Yeah, that's just basically how you're supposed to do it. I mean,
I agree.
Just be glad that you got to interview the players during moments like this. Like, what kind of question would you have asked any of the Tampa Bay any of the Dodger players after watching what you saw in Game 4?
I would have said, how do you regain your confidence back? Because after that, you thought that that's a routine out. I forget the right fielder's name, and I can't think of it for the life of me right now. But, this isn't on Will Smith. It's not. And it's also on Kenley Jensen. Why was he not fielding his position? He wasn't behind the catcher. But then I think that's the only question I would ask. Like, how do you regain your confidence back? Like, what do you do to get back into the groove of things?
Yeah, I mean, I would have asked, like, how you plan to redeem yourself. Of course, sometimes you got to be careful, like, what the type of questions that you ask players, because there are some, that's where you realize when you're asking questions you probably should really be asking, like, in a certain way, like, they gonna feel a way about it. And I should know, because I gotta say, just feel like when I asked Angel Galti the question about how you plan to redeem yourself from another bad loss to a super Seattle Storm, she was kind of a little upset about that, which is understandable because nobody likes to be reminded about how bad they perform in any championship series, from when you first got to the championship to your fourth appearance playing on a different team.
No, but it's a valid question too, because it's just a strategy question that you're asking. Like, redeem, I understand that the word redeem has like a negative connotation, but it really doesn't. It's just a question. How do you plan on redeeming yourself? Oh, I plan on going back out there and kicking butt no matter what and bringing it back home and blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. But
yeah,
these are some of the weaknesses that the Rays had throughout this entire World Series in the games that they lost.
What was that?
What do you think was the weakness for the Tampa Bay Rays in the games in which they lost, including the series clincher?
I think that their bats weren't as, like, that lineup. You can tell that the lineup isn't exactly what it is all there. Like, their strength is definitely pitching, but the batting, I don't know, like, I guess they have to do some finagling and see how they can mix it up. I think that they need like one or two strong batters coming up in this off season, and I think they're set to go. So that's something I noticed.
Yeah, you mentioned strong batters in the upcoming off season. Like, when you look at the free agencies coming up in 2020, like, what player are you looking to pick up if you was a general manager for the Tampa Bay Rays?
Well, what's his name? Trevor Bauer. He's on my radar. I'm intrigued to see if he'll leave. I'm intrigued to see if they'll give him a max contract anywhere. I wouldn't doubt it. He's a brilliant pitcher. I'm trying to think who else, but no one else really comes to mind. How about you?
Well, it usually depends on like what position needs to be filled, like what they need to work on a little bit more.
Well, I was working on names. I'm not thinking like positions. I'm thinking just big names.
Well, Trevor Bauer would definitely be a good pickup for the Tampa Bay Rays.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not to agree with you on this one. Anything to get over the hump and get back in the World Series next season. But yeah. Who's to say that the Boston Red Sox won't come out of nowhere and have the best record, or the Yankees won't continue to be consistent in making the playoffs every year like they normally have?
Yeah.
Who's to say that
they've been making it for the past postseason? That's true.
Or who's to say that when they get there, they won't run into the Los Angeles Dodgers again? Because despite you saw how persevered the Dodgers was getting to the postseason and pulling out that championship win that they worked so hard for these past 5 years. And if you notice, the past 4 teams that took out the Dodgers in the postseason went on to win a championship.
They sure did. I agree. But this time it was just meant for the Dodgers.
Exactly. Now, compare LA's championship win to the Dodgers championship win. It was being asked on ESPN's The Jump. Which team do you think is the best, like, between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Lakers?
Wow. That's a really good question. I would say I think the Lakers a little bit more. I'm leaning towards the Lakers.
No surprise. And I talked about this in past episodes. You probably don't wish to Kobe Bryant. You did it in the bubble. You're the best team in the NBA. And you got there because of how many crazy shots throughout the bubble and the postseason.
Yeah, they were in it. Like, there was no doubt in my mind that they weren't going to win it. Even though I really low-key wanted Miami, but you know what? They'll be there back soon. Possibly next year. Who knows?
Nobody really expected Miami to get as far as they did.
Nobody. Not even an 8th seed. I agree.
Yeah. But getting back to talking about baseball, like, what are your impressions about watching these games from not seeing any fans in the stands during the 60-game season and the first rounds and a half of the postseason, all the way up until seeing fans in the NLCS and World Series?
Well, I actually thought about going to Texas, and I was looking at price tickets, and I said, how crazy would it be to go there? And the tickets weren't even that expensive. They were like $200-$300. So it's affordable in terms of New York, But I love to see the fact that people were actually there. I think that it's a sport that demands its fans. Like, imagine this game in Dodger Stadium. Like, that would have been explosive. Like, the city was already popping off. Imagine had the Dodgers been home to win it at home too. So I think that I'm just hoping to see how they can actually figure out to bring more fans next season. Like, I definitely miss baseball. Like, I was supposed to go on a road trip to check out a couple stadiums. That's on my bucket list. And I haven't even been able to do that because of COVID, there's no tickets. There's no fans right now. So it comes back to basketball. Are they going to have fans there in the winter time if they don't start on Christmas? Are they going to have fans in January, or is it too close to call right now? Because what if we're in the midst of a second wave? So yeah.
But since you mentioned basketball, like, there's a possible chance that the NBA is going to start their season in late December with no fans or limited fans, since there are some arenas that still haven't allowed fans to go to the games yet. What went through your mind seeing the possible plan for the NBA to come back the way it's going to come back in December?
I think it's too soon in December. I would prefer January, just to give it a couple extra weeks just to feel it out, especially with what if there's second wave. But I do see that these leagues are suffering. Like, the MLB lost $1 billion this year. NBA also posted their losses, and I think they were definitely in the millions. But it's evident that they need these ticket sales in order to survive. It's unfortunate, but that's how these owners make money. So when people are mad at the teams, don't go to the games. That's how you kind of kick it back to them. But I'm hoping as media, I'm able to get back in there, because like at this time, I've been getting a lot of Facebook memories and Instagram memories, and it's like being at MSG. So I really hope that there's a chance for media to cover them, even though I wouldn't be surprised if it's only allowed for bigger media, like the ESPNs of the world.
Yeah, I mean, but the NBA did a pretty good job with the bubble. So imagine how great of a job they're going to do when they come back in December, because you have to keep the Christmas Day tradition going. Like, Christmas Day, that's pretty much a gift for anybody that can't afford getting the Christmas gifts that they really want to get when that day comes.
I agree, yeah. They're doing it, and we can all take a page out of what the what the NBA and NHL are doing, because they figured it out. They had 0 coronaviruses. Those are the real MVPs. They're commissioners, smart men, and they're really figuring it out. MLB and NFL, they kind of have to catch up.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of the NFL, let's not forget the fact that those games there were a lot of arenas that didn't have any fans. You had to listen to artificial crowds in the TV station. Like that. So what makes you think that the NBA would not be able to do that when they come back in late December or late January or whatever?
To be honest, I really don't. It's hard to really imagine that, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's best to not have people, because think about it. Like before this mask wearing, I think that all of us were we're full of germs. If you think about it, like we weren't. People were just holding onto the handrails at the train. People were just littering everywhere. Not knowing how to cough, and cough in your elbow instead of in your hands, like little things like that. And I think now we've gotten a little more conscious and aware of what we're supposed to be doing.
Exactly. And it's dangerous times, and the NBA is thinking about coming back just in late December. But knowing the NBA, they're going to pull it off. And the only reason why they're doing that because they don't want to go through the hot mess of having to play through summer and early fall like they did last season. Yeah.
It's throwing off their schedule for sure. Like, the draft is on the 18th of next month. So, what happened?
Yeah, I was actually going to get to that, but yeah.
Yeah, the draft is next month, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, speaking of the NBA draft, what do you think about the idea of the NBA doing their draft virtually in Connecticut next month?
Well, it's definitely whack, but we have no choice. It is what it is. That's something else that I'm like, damn, like this would have been so cool to cover, but I guess everyone is just covering virtually and get those mock drafts up. I haven't started working on mine, but I'm going to try to work on it over the weekend.
Okay. What are your top 5 players in the upcoming NBA draft?
Oh, I don't have any top 5 players right now. I have to be honest. I have been ignoring the draftees for a while now. I've been putting that on the back burner because I didn't want to, I kind of like, it was too much that was going on. So I said, all right, I'll deal with that at the end of October.
And we're in the end of October, so obviously...
Yep, I'll deal with that over the weekend.
I've heard that the Minnesota Timberwolves are in talks with LaMelo Ball about possibly drafting them, even though Edwards could be one. Like, which one?
Anthony Edwards, right?
Yeah. Which one?
Yeah, I have heard.
Yeah. Number one, if you was a GM for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and why?
Well, let's see. I mean, I think that, man, that would be a terrific pick, but I don't know. I'm not really sure. And I know this is going to sound like a hater. I don't really think that I have too much faith in LaMelo Ball, but no, the people always end up to deceive us sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, this NBA draft is pretty unpredictable. Unlike the Zion Williamson sweepstakes.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, this is just a crazy month of sports.
It is.
Well, that concludes this episode of Nothing But That Sports Talk. Thank you for stopping by again, Erika Fernandez. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Rafique. Appreciate you.
One topic. I see that you managed to start off a new podcast of yours. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Of course. Well, the podcast is called the Curls and Sports Podcast with Erika Fernandez, me. I talk a little bit about everything. I haven't posted an episode in about a week and change now because I wanted the World Series to be over. So like that, it's like everything is kind of like following a sequential. But I talk about anything that's random that's going on. Like I talked about the verses with Brandon Monica. And I also started talking about, I don't know if you noticed, but Pat Mahomes proposed to his girlfriend. So I talked about like engagement rings, like what you shouldn't get, what's the 4 C's in diamonds and stuff like that. But yeah, I try to keep it funky and fresh and fun, where at least like I know that some of these things are based on current events, but there's other stuff that's evergreen. So you can kind of see what's up there for you.
Yeah. So, yeah. Make sure you check out that podcast, and thank you.
Thank you.
And to all the big balls out there, were you ahead of the game?